In our effort to fulfill this administration's vision of becoming a sustainable island state, especially as it relates to water, energy, food, infrastructure, technology, and industry, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis will present its first voluntary national review, VNR, to the United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, HLPF, in New York on July 18th, 2023. St. Kitts and Nevis will be one of 39 nations presenting at this particular HLPF at the UN headquarters in New York. The presentation of the VNR is the primary space where the UN monitors the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development at the global level. The voluntary national review is a process through which countries assess and present national progress made in implementing the 2030 Agenda, including achieving the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and the pledge to leave no one behind. It also focuses on eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions. The Federation's first voluntary national review comes as a result of many months of national consultations, spearheaded by the Ministry of Sustainable Development under the leadership of the Minister of Sustainable Development, Honorable Dr. Joy L. Clark. The process has been diverse, involving stakeholders from civil society, the private sector, youth groups, and the public service, including the Nevis Island Administration. We say a special thank you to the UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, and the UN Multi-Country Office for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean for their indispensable support in making our first VNR a reality. During this year's high-level political forum, the theme will be accelerating the recovery from COVID-19 and the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development at all levels. There will be a special focus on SDG 6, which is clean water and sanitation, 7, affordable and clean energy, 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, 11, sustainable cities and communities, and 17, partnerships for the goals, all of which are critical if we are to realize our country's sustainable island state agenda. The delegation to present the VNR will include Head of Delegation, yours truly, as Minister of Energy et al., Mrs. Sherrilita Dorr Tyson, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Mr. Oren Manners, Director of the Public Sector Investment Program, Mr. Kevin Hope, VNR Consultant, Ms. Donala Laplace, Communications and Research Officer in the Ministry of Environment and Climate Action, and Ms. Nikira Nichols, the Federation's representative on the UN Youth Advisory Group. Following the VNR presentation next Tuesday at 10 a.m., the Ministry of Sustainable Development and members of the delegation will continue its communication campaign to further sensitize the public on our SDG progress and our commitment to leave no one behind. So I want to invite you to view this 1-minute video in the lead up to the HLPF.
St. Kitts and Nevis has made significant strides in implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Our development initiatives over the past 2 decades have targeted accelerating economic growth with a focus on employment, resulting in a fall in the levels of poverty, improved social services, and expanded social protection for poor and vulnerable households. However, the pandemic caused massive disruption to people's lives and affected the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in areas such as poverty reduction, good health care, quality education, decent work, and economic growth. St. Kitts and Nevis's new National Development Planning Framework which guides the country's development planning for the next 15 years, is well aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and the government's vision for the country to become a sustainable island state.
Needless to say, we are very excited about this opportunity to showcase to the world and to the UN body our progress thus far.